a single sentence explanation of Ren and Stimpy. Let's see. Where do you start?
But really, guys? Nothing? Have you worked on the
That's
damn
a really
project?
hard one. How would you describe it?
Well,
No, it's
it's
not.
a pretty simple pitch, really. A dog and a cat who are both good friends, but they live in a they're both weird friends in a weird world of insanity and death. I just want to make clear, I'm a huge big Ren and Stimpy fan. Before again, I remember how old I was. I was the right age. My parents were in the middle of separation, and just like all other kids growing up, their parents wouldn't let them watch Ren and Stimpy at a young age. And just a reminder, it wasn't a prime time show. It was a children's show on Nickelodeon. One of the first ones, in fact. And everyone out there has strict parents that won't let them watch them until they're like their 20s or their 30s. I was around, I'm gonna say 15 when I first watched it. One of the first episodes that I really do still think about to this day is both Space Madness and Sven Hoeg, which are both very hilarious and beautiful art that worked there. Beautiful storytelling. Ren and Stimpy was innovative and influential on every level. It was an artist/creator-driven show, and created by the controversial John Kricfalusi, or John K. To me, basically, it was crazy people or crazy person telling a crazy story in a crazy way. From the background paintings to the character voices, it was all highly unusual. These beautiful yet so gross hand painted cells, like this wasn't done in
Dead! Dead, you idiot! You know what dead is? Dead like we'll be if we don't get out of here!
Do you understand that cartoon show?
I don't understand anything anymore.
You just have to know that back in the late 80s, early 90s, children's shows were a travesty. It was all toys that steered the show.
Before we go on with this video, I just want to make clear, this is not a video on talking about this bastard. You can look up there's other videos and talk about all of his many sins. This is a video about the original Ren and Stimpy that we all love. Now, for the rest of this, I'm going to try my best. It's not going to sound like anything like butt kissing him or saying thank you. Just don't think about him. Remember how much you love Ren and Stimpy. How Ren is going angry insane and Stimpy's tongue is really big and really gross. Remember how much you love their adventures. Whether you despise John or not, I hope that it doesn't affect the way you feel about the show. I love Ren and Stimpy because of the art, the storytelling, the hilarious gags, the mean-spirited comedy. Now, let's continue, shall we? Ren and Stimpy was one out of three of the first Nickelodeon shows. There was Doug, Rugrats, and Nat. Ren and Stimpy was like... It was basically dessert. It was dessert after dinner. It was like a lone but booming mighty voice shouting, "Ready or not, here I come!" And it was what all the other shows looked up to, and it led the way for the others. You know? And first off, like I said before, this was a kid. When you watch it back, you can possibly hint at all the innuendos that you see that you could not get away with. The censors are probably as demented as John and them were. And they got away with so much, like the glass coffee table, the glass coffee table collection that still cracks me up. Most people don't get it, but I do because I'm just filthy and demented. And, John and them would try past jokes that they thought were necessary for children to see. And like, this is a genuine thing that I want. And somehow they got away with quite a lot, like you would not believe. Well, anyway, let's get to it. Ren Hoag. Where do I begin? I dare you to identify with Ren, because he is a complete asshole. He's a dick. He's a tiny, frail, but rageaholic, slightly bipolar, hot-tempered chihuahua, and well known for him being greedy, hilariously mean-spirited towards Stimpy or anybody else. And that's how you get out there. This guy is a complete dick, yet I want him to win. Yet you shouldn't feel sorry for him. Stimpy is the opposite. Stimpson J. Cat. He is mentally challenged, but has a big heart, and he cares about what happens to Ren and others. Like he's really Stimpy is kind-hearted. He's innocent. He's very naive and believes in everything and everyone. And there's always you would see any heartfelt moments, and it's mostly because of Stimpy.
John Kay was influenced and inspired by Bob Clampett of Looney Tunes. His cartoons, they pulled you into him because they're hand-inked and hand-drawn. And by the early late 80s, we'd see animation decay and go right down Rodney.
Most fans would say that Ren and Stimpy is shock comedy. My opinion, it's not. It is just... It has abnormal characters expressing emotions that are horrifying to look at, yet they're relatable to look at, such as delusions, depression, or mental health problems. The Spunko team were masters at transferring complex feelings in grotesque ways, and they expressed feelings that were based on life and somewhat very specific. And you watch them like, oh, that's me. Now, John Kay and his team's mission is like to reset the clock in the animation clock and become like the king queens of art-driven animation. What I mean is, they never do the same drawing twice, which is why sometimes Ren looks bizarrely. Sometimes he doesn't look like a. If you see Ren and Stimpy, they don't even look like a cat or dog. Sometimes Ren would look like a mosquito or a marmoset or an old turtle. It's
one of the best well-known cartoons is Stimpy's Invention, particularly because of how creator and art-driven the show was, and things were highly unusual. Like, in the army, why did they make Ren look like this? And then, poof, his neck's stretchy and scraggly, and it always cracked me the frick up. It's just... Or when he does look like an old turtle in Canadian X-Men. I always tip my hat to the Spunko team, especially how hard they worked, or John's case notes. You can see the pain and pressure in Stimpy's Big Day, and how much they slaved away. Or in Stimpy's Invention, just Ren here trying to get out the glue socks and trying to kill Stimpy. You pause each one, and there's a new picture every single frame by frame by frame. And that's just John's...
And at the time, the Spunko team gave the kids what no other show would do, is they gave them no morals. They gave them a break from educational morals. They gave us hilarious gross close-ups. You know those kind right there? They would jar in something like a zit or or some red and boiling, and it was disgusting yet so beautifully hand inked, hand painted. It's like, that is beautiful, and that's one of the reasons why it's influential. And John would say that's inspired by the Basil Wolferton, who worked on Mad Magazine, just like Bill Ray did.
Bill Ray was a background artist on Ren and Stimpy. His backgrounds would really hide the emotion on the characters were feeling, and he deserves extra credit for his hard work.
One of the reasons, it's just some of the reasons what makes Ren and Stimpy a big deal is that created by, see that, the created by John K. thing? Back then, in the late 80s, early 90s, it was only toys that seared the show. And people always wonder, like, hey, who created that? Like, who created the Transformers? Who created the Care Bears? Who created the He-Man? I mean, you have to go back to directed by Hanna-Barbera and directed by Chuck Jones. But by then, the created by John K. brought that created by back from the dead. And after John got himself fired, they took off by season 3, I believe, or the end of season 2, they took off his the created by card, took off his legacy, and now what we all know about him now, it forever stains the show, and so the characters are now covered in shit paint, sadly enough. And there was, watching the team, I realized that this goes for other shows too, such as Very Odd Parents created by Butch Hartman, or Dexter's Lab created by Genndy Tartakovsky. I realized it wasn't just John or the creator. Creators like them, they're good at being a driving force. Behind that driving force were so many creative, talented people that made you very proud of knowing this project, like Bob Camp, Jim Smith, Chris Riccardi, Lynn Naylor, and so many others that deserve more credit. And there were so many of a talented team that brought back the created by card. That's how you get SpongeBob, Dexter's Lab, and everything else that followed afterwards. It led the way for those shows, and examples of the shows were influenced by Ren and Stimpy were all of them, every one of them, ongoing impact there. They were inspired by Ren and Stimpy, as John K. was inspired by Bob Clampett that gave us the Looney Tunes, as Bob was inspired by the Fleischer cartoons. And that, the show forever changed the way people worked on cartoons, looked at cartoons, from character designs, to perfect timing, to hilarious gags, to expressions. Ren and Stimpy, it addresses real human emotion. And in my opinion, that makes it such an influential, big hit on what forever changed the animation world. It's one of just some of the big game changers, in my opinion. It is. And I will forever be very thankful for, well, at least some of them. However, nod my head to the team like respect. And later, left unchecked, John would go on to, party cartoon, stuff like that. We just look away, like, you go, no. Ugh. And so for us fans, the only reason I make this video, because I know that Comedy Central is working on the Ren and Stimpy reboot, and some of it's been linked. Like, the title cards are actually look very fascinating. I'm kind of skeptical, I'm a little bit skeptical and nervous of how they're going to do this. As last time, they rebooted the Powerpuff Girls and recasted all of them. And fans were not happy with that for a few reasons, of course. I know that Billy West is coming back to voice both Ren and Stimpy, cannot wait for that. And I've been going around throwing the idea of maybe reviewing some Ren and Stimpy episodes. particularly the ones that are uncut that you cannot find on Paramount Plus. What'd you say? What is your favorite Ren and Stimpy episode? Would you like me to review some? I'm gonna do it anyway. Happy, happy, joy, joy!
Thank you all for watching this video. I really do love this show. If you'd like to take a look at the Happy Happy Joy Joy documentary back in 2020, it's a gas.